Welcome to The Big Reset, Marketing and Business Edition, a podcast for entrepreneurs, forward thinkers, and marketing junkies embracing new world business strategies and zigging when others zag. Host Scott Harkey is president and CEO of OH Partners, one of the largest and most decorated creative agencies in the Southwest, which has helped open the door for him to sit down with an array of high-octane guests and personalities, all with credible stories to tell and valuable insights to share. As the advertising and marketing industry continue heading towards new world shifts, align yourself with true leaders in the space and make the Big Reset a weekly habit as you stay one step ahead of the masses in your journey to self-educate, learn, and grow your personal and professional brand.
Welcome. Pretty pumped because we have my friend Ahron Cohen on today, the youngest CEO in professional sports history as far as I know. I'm a marketing guy, so I got to start with a big headline.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's ever validated that, but let's go with it.
I like it. Ahron and I have been friends for a long time. We worked with Ahron when he was CEO at the Coyotes. Ahron's an ASU guy. A lot of fun stories as he's come up through law school. At a big law firm to the sports side. So I'd love to just kind of, hear kind of a little bit for the people at home, kind of your background. I mean, how do you go from, a law student, to a law firm to like the CEO of a major professional hockey team? Like how does that happen, Ahron?
Yeah.
At 30, you were what, at 34?
34, I think.
Okay,
yeah.
Shit. Okay.
No, first of all, it's good to be here.
Yeah, I know.
Every time I come here, I never feel cool enough to be in this office. You mentioned it started at a law firm. Law firms are really stuffy, and then I come in here, and it's like, damn.
Gotta be hipstered out, bro.
I like it here. It's been kind of a crazy journey of mine. I started out, I grew up in Minnesota, a suburb of Minneapolis, and the frozen cold up there, but diehard sports fan, grew up playing football and basketball, and then I was lucky enough to get recruited to play football in college. So I was looking at different schools and ended up going to Bowdoin College out in Maine.
Oh, nice.
And it was an awesome experience, and just
the only person from Minnesota that's not a hockey guy, you're a football guy.
I know. No hockey, so started no hockey in Minnesota, could barely skate, could barely play, out on the pond. Go to Bowdoin, another, big hocky school.
Oh, yeah,
Maine's
absolutely.
really big in hockey, no hockey out there. And then, eventually I worked my way down here in the desert with a hockey team, so go figure. But, I went out there and played football, loved my experience out there. And when I was playing, I knew I wanted to stay involved in sports when I was done. And I was struggling to figure out what did that look like? What was I going to do? And I had some good buddies that went into coaching. I thought about coaching and, thought, I probably have the ability to make the most impact and really progress in my career by being in the front office. So then it was like, what do I do to be involved in the front office? And I had some good mentors at that time. I did an internship over the summer with the U.S. Congressman in Minnesota who had a law degree, and he never practiced, but he said, look, getting a law degree, it opens up a lot of good doors. It teaches you how to be thoughtful and analytical, improves your writing, your communication skills. And, if you get this degree, you can practice, you can now practice, but it's definitely going to open up doors. I started doing more research. I saw that, a lot of people in front offices with different sports teams had legal background. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So then, the next step was figuring out where am I going to go. So when I was done with Bowdoin, I went back to Minnesota for a year. I was working at the Target Corporation. I was doing government affairs there. And I was in the process of applying to law schools, and I was looking in the Midwest, I was looking in the Northeast. I'd never been out west to Phoenix or to Arizona, and the Gophers were playing in a bowl game. Remember the Insight Bowl?
Yes. Who did they play? Was that Pittsburgh?
That was the Texas Tech.
Okay, Texas Tech. Okay.
So I come down here with my late father.
Was that at Chase Field, right? Was that
No. It was at Sun Devil Stadium.
It was at Sun Devil Stadium.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I remember my late father and I jumped in a plane, and it was like -10 in Minnesota. We come down here. And, the second I get down here, I'm like, damn, this is nice. There's palm trees, there's, cute girls running around. There's, this is a fun place to be. So I was like, okay, Arizona State, let me start thinking about, let me get the law school application.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a crazy game too, by the way, because Minnesota blew at the time. I think there's been, a couple of things since then, but at the time they blew the biggest lead in Bull history.
Oh, wow.
And first of all, a lot of luck and good fortune. I think it was kind of a plan for me really early on to be involved in sports. I loved sports growing up. Played football and basketball. Ended up going to Bowdoin College and played football there. And when I was at Bowdoin, I was always trying to find a way to stay involved. Right, I knew I wasn't going to be playing on Sundays. So what other way could I be involved in sports? And at the time, I was kind of thinking, okay, maybe football. Maybe going into coaching in some capacity.
Were you getting like straight A's in high school?
Not necessarily. I did all right, but
Okay.
but yeah,
Good grades though.
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to go Ivy League, you're telling me earlier, like you got pretty good grades.
Yeah, I had pretty good grades.
Okay.
But at the time, I think they've tightened this up a little bit. But the Ivy League, and then Bowdoin was in the NESCAC. They used to get a little help. If you were coming in as a recruited football player,
Okay.
stuff like that. But you still had to do a pretty good job.
Yeah, you're in Minnesota, no hockey up there. You're playing football. What's up with that?
The one guy in Minnesota, I guess, that wasn't playing hockey. But yeah, I played. No hockey. I grew up playing basketball, football, baseball, and.
Did your dad play sports?
Yeah, he played some tennis. No football though. But
what's your dad's background? 'Cause we talked about this off camera about like how you guys would like negotiate in the house. Like what? Like tell me about that. That's insane, dude.
Yeah. Well, I like a Jewish household, like you're kind of taught to question everything and get in debates. And my dad, I thought was awesome. He always challenged me. He would ask me questions. We'd talk about current events, and he'd say something, and then I'd have a counterpoint, and then he'd beat me up on that, and he'd say, well, this is why
Is he
you're
like
reason you're wrong.
confronting you? He's like confronting you.
Well, not like in a threatening way, but just like around the table, right? Or around.
What did your dad do for work?
So he was an anesthesiologist.
Okay, cool.
So he grew up in Brooklyn, and
oh wow,
grew up. His father passed away really young, so he grew up in a single mother household, and tough
raised
Jewish
by his mom in New York.
Yeah, and then worked his way out. Went to medical school, and then worked his way west and stuff. So I think I really appreciated that about my father growing up. He didn't have a dad, and I think he really enjoyed spending time with me, taking me to sports, and just overall just being together and getting into these good debates. And I think that served me well, because then you go to law school, and then you're inclined to be a good debater, and then certainly had my fair share of negotiations in the legal career, and then also with the Coyotes.
But you wanted to be in sports. Like you knew since high school, since junior high, that like I'm going to work in the front office at a sports team.
Yeah, I mean that was the hope. I didn't know exactly what that looked like, but I wanted to do everything I could to find a way to get involved. So I think right after I was getting done with school, I was looking to go to law school and looking at different places, and really looking around New England and the Midwest. And I'd never been out to Arizona before. I ended up coming down to Arizona for an Insight Bowl. The Minnesota Gophers, we were big Minnesota Gophers fans, and they played Texas Tech. And I came down when it was like -10, and you get down here and it's like 75 degrees and palm trees, and I know it's a good recruiting tool.
Absolutely.
So I came down here. I was like,
that's what Arizona has to offer.
Exactly. So I was like, I'm sold. ASU, this looks pretty good. So. I started asking around and talking to the dean and trying to figure out, what sports opportunities they had. And she told me that she had a connection to the Minnesota Vikings. So I was like, oh, okay, that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah.
So then, I'm quizzing her and asking her, if she could help me out and create some opportunities for me. And, she was fortunate. It was really nice of her, but she made a connection to the Minnesota Vikings general counsel. So I was able to get an internship with him, and that was my first foray into sports in the front office.
So like you, as you're trying to get into law school, you ask why you should go here and hook me up with a connection.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, I think I probably should have. I kind of took it on. I mean, she was like, yeah, we have a connection to this guy, Kevin Warren, with Minnesota Vikings. For people that don't know, so Kevin was the general counsel and then COO of the Vikings. And then more recently became the commissioner of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So she had a connection. He was from Phoenix.
From Arizona.
And it was good enough. I mean, I probably should have gotten that in writing that she was going to help me out or make that part of the recruiting.
There's that legal background.
But I took it on faith, and I was banging on her door, during the first week of school, and she was nice enough to help me out.
That's cool.
Get my foot in the door there.
And we talked about mentors. Like he's been a mentor to you. I mean,
yeah.
How did that work out? So I remember you telling me like you're taking a final, and you go and you ended up working for Kevin. Like, did you like travel to Minnesota? Like,
yeah. Well, so I was going back to Minnesota after I was done with the semester, and so I'm studying for these finals, and I have the last final coming up, and you're stuck in the library for like 20 hours a day. This is terrible. It's just like the worst thing you could imagine. And I remember I have one final coming up left, and I get this call from the dean, and she was like, and I hadn't talked to her since the first week of school when I gave her my resume and, asked her for help here. And I just thought she kind of blew me off, So then I get this call, and I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, oh, it's the dean. Like this, like what's this about, right?
Yeah.
Did she think I cheated on the test or something? So I answered, and she was like, yeah, I got you that internship with Kevin. So I'm thinking, maybe this is next, summer or whatever. And she's like, yeah, it starts in 2 days. So, I take the last final. I hustle up there to Minnesota, no downtime, over the break. And I started working for Kevin that winter break, and then, kept that relationship going. And I was working for him throughout law school and then after law school. But he was just an awesome guy. The thing I appreciate and admire the most about him was he got me involved in everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was, first of all, involved with everything in the organization. And, we were dealing with some crazy issues at the time. I mean, they were trying to get a new stadium. They're dealing with, coach personnel issues. And, later, I mean, this was in that first winter break, but later on, they had Brett Favre. We had, the Packers were accusing the Vikings of tampering with Brett Favre.
I forgot about that.
Brett Favre, was accused of sending some pictures to people to deal with that too. You name it.
All sorts of legal issues.
Exactly.
There,
But, I think it's a testament to who Kevin is and what type of leader he is. I think a lot of people, just will say, hey, look, I got a young person working for me. I'm going to give them a couple of discrete tasks and throw them in a closet somewhere and say, hey, give me a memo or something like
whatever.
that. Kevin had me in every meeting and, told me to ask questions, be a sponge, really learn from them. And, that's been so helpful and instrumental in my career, and something that I've really tried to do with, with people that have come up under me, to give them the opportunities to just learn and then quiz me after meetings. Why did we do this? What was the thought process? Where are we trying to go with this? And I also found that really helps me because it forces you to think through and really explain, the rationale for everything you're trying to do.
Yeah, I have a coach, and he always talks about some people, hand off, poop, and other people hand diamonds off to people. Like if you have someone working with you as a leader, how do you give somebody that diamond project? Like, here's what I need, here's what I expect, here's what I'm thinking, but then give them the opportunity to like make decisions and like just finish the project, like hand them off a diamond.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, okay, so go to law school, you intern with NFL team. Then you go to Snell and Wilmer right after that as an associate?
Yeah. Okay. Snell down here.
Big law firms. Those of you who know Snell and Wilmer, one of the biggest law firms in the Southwest. So so how do you get into law school now? How do you go from, I think we talked about 9 years from being CEO of Coyotes to you just started in law school. Like, what were you doing at Snell and Wilmer? How did that kind of set you up?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, part of that, the reason that I went to Snell was Kevin. I remember when I was with him, I was asking him, I want to be an executive with a front office team.
Wow.
So, how do you, see that go? Like, what should I be doing? And he said, look, if you stay here, I can get you involved in some of these things, and I can help you. But like, at some point, these law firms are so good at training people and just working people hard and teaching them how to be really good lawyers and establishing those really good fundamentals. And it's just not something that you can really do. As great of a mentor as Kevin was, and as great as he was in terms of exposing me to a lot of different things, it's hard to replicate that training, those kind of basic skills as a lawyer if you're not going to a law firm. So he said, I think you should go to the biggest law firm in Phoenix, if you want to be in Phoenix right now, and just learn how to be a good attorney, and then keep your eyes open, keep on hustling, and look for opportunities in sports eventually, and then then you're going to get good opportunities to be a general counsel and go from there. So that was kind of the on-ramp to a team. So I went to Snell, big corporate firm here, doing a lot of cool
800
work.
lawyers, I think now, something crazy.
Oh man, it's a factory, man.
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
But
a lot of my friends at Snell are all running companies, or like they're doing. Look at Jason Rowley, President of Sons. He's a Snell guy. I mean,
exactly.
I mean, all the team guys. The Snell was was a factory.
Yeah, but you just learn how to grind, and it teaches you good negotiation skills and teaches you how to interact with clients and just overall just hustle, right? I mean, just you kind of recognize the more work I put in, the more work I'm going to get out. And what I was really trying to do when I was at Snell, I knew I didn't want to be there forever. I wanted to learn how to be a good attorney. I wanted to stay involved in sports any way I could. And I wanted to keep my eyes open for at the right time making that jump into sports. And I got very fortunate. So I got known as the sports guy at Snell. So I was representing the Arizona Coyotes ownership group, the team that was buying, or the group that was buying the team from the NHL in 2013. So then I did a good job on that project, and worked really hard. We're dealing with the NHL
Blanc and those guys.
Yeah, exactly. And we closed that deal, and then a couple of years later, they needed a general counsel. So I was their first call, and then there we were.
And you were like a young associate doing this work.
Yeah. So I think I was there for like 5 years.
How old are you at this time?
So I was like, so I'm getting
20s?
too old. Everything. Yeah, I was in late 20s, late 20s.
Late 20s, you're putting together all the legal stuff for the Coyotes ownership group.
Yeah.
At Snell.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So we're hustling on that. But,
how much do you think you're working a week at that point? Like, are you 60, 70 hours?
I mean, it ebbed and flowed. I mean, there were some weeks where you're sleeping in the office.
Holy cow.
And you're just, but you look back at it. I mean, now I have 2 young kids, and you're married and all this stuff. Like, you look back and, I always joke with my wife. I'm like, what did we do when we didn't have kids?
Yeah.
Like, how much time did you have?
Yeah.
So it's a little different.
I tell young people this all the time, and I actually had some insight because, I think law firms, accounting firms, consultancies, and ad agencies, I mean, we're all in the professional service business.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons I loved working with you, too, when you were at the Coyotes, because you understand professional services. And I think there's 2 tracks in professional services, and I think young people at home, I really want you to listen to this, because it took me a long time to understand this. But I think when you go to an accounting firm, or you're a lawyer, you're going to a law firm, or you're going into an ad agency, again, these are professional service organizations. We get paid by professionals and companies to be, professional advice, or, whether it's legal opinion, marketing opinion, accounting, like we're paid hired guns. And I think there's 2 tracks. You can go partner track, where you're going to be a partner of the law firm, you love legal, you're going to be a lawyer, or you love accounting, you're going to be a partner of the accounting firm, or ad agency, you're going to be a key executive of the ad agency, or you're going to be a sponge and you're going to learn a ton of shit and provide a ton of value. You're going to work with some of the biggest brands or some of the biggest executives, and you're going to take that knowledge and skill set maybe in-house. I used to get really upset when people would leave the agency to go work in-house. I'm like, what the hell? This is bullshit. Now I understand that's the game. That's the trade-off, is you get some of the sharpest people out of school with great backgrounds who are going to put in 4, 5, 6 awesome years and going to make you a lot of money in professional services. And then they're going to go in-house, and they're going to have so much respect for what they were able to learn at the agency or at the accounting firm or at the law firm. Like, that's your real, working degree.
Yeah.
I went on a tangent there, but would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree. And I think also just kind of recognizing your skill set and kind of where you want to go with your career. And, while you're there trying to, pick up useful insights and things that are actually going to make you, better off and more marketable outside of things. Like, with law firms, M&A, it's interesting because yes, I mean, you need to, in that type of work, and for young kids out there, M&A, I mean, you're helping companies buy other companies and acquire things and just, yes, you need to understand how to be a good lawyer and negotiate. There's a big negotiation component. There's you're drafting agreements, but there's also just a get shit done mentality that you have with that stuff. When you're trying to close, and especially as an associate, you're working with the company. You become, whoever's, it's usually the CFO or the general counsel or somebody is COO. You're just like their best friend. You're on calls with them for like 15 hours a day.
Wow. And
you're just like wrangling all these different pieces together. So, one, it's a really good background if you do go in and become a general counsel because it makes you a generalist, right? You're used to dealing with all these different issues. And then two, it just makes you very, pragmatic in your approach to stuff. You just recognize, hey, we got to roll up our sleeves. We got to just get shit done. We got to, get to the finish line.
I have a buddy's company and they called it GSD, Get Shit Done Group.
I like that.
I was like, this is awesome. I'm great because a lot of people think like, oh, you got to be strategic and high level and also, yeah, you do. I think a lot of millennials are very bright and they want to work smart.
Yeah.
And I think there was, like the baby boomer mentality is like, get your hands dirty and have calluses on your hands. Like, I get that too. I think there needs to be a balance where it's like, look, sometimes you do have to roll up your sleeve and get shit done. But there are ways to work smarter, not harder too. But I think maybe sometimes millennials, over index with this like work smarter attitude. And there's definitely times where you just got to jump in the hole and shovel stuff and figure it out.
You're absolutely right. And, especially when you're younger, I mean, I look back at some of those memories and, as much as they might have sucked when you're in it and you're like, oh, shit, like you haven't slept in a couple days or, those are the things you remember, right? 100%. You don't remember, hey, I had this very mediocre Tuesday and, I left at 5 and, I ate a sandwich and, what do you remember? You remember, hey, we were working on this deal. We were in the office, a couple other younger associates till 2 a.m. We're joking around, we're playing music, like that. Those are the cool memories. And when you're young and you don't have a family and you don't have all this other, all the other problems of life and other things that you have to deal with, who cares? Just soak it up. Be a sponge.
You got to pay your dues. I agree with that. My favorite pitches of all time were like all-nighters, and we pitched the next day. And some crazy stories where we didn't get the account, we said something stupid in the pitch and lost it and blew it or whatever.
But you got a good memory out of it. That's all that matters.
The learning, the camaraderie. Okay, so I want to get back on track here. You're at the law firm now. You go over to the Coyotes. What are some of the things you learned from running a team?
Yeah. So
loaded question, but
no,
what the
that's
hell?
fine. Yeah. Well, hey, we got nothing but time.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I mean, starting off, so when I joined the Coyotes, I was actually, I think, the youngest general counsel in the NHL at that time.
Wow.
And
how old were you when you were general counsel?
I think I was 32, wow. I want to say, 31, 32. And I think, it's all blurring together.
Yeah.
It's in that range, right? And
I remember I had dinner with you. I think it was like at Steak 44 or something.
I think that's right.
Yeah, the first time I met you when you were general counsel. Yeah.
and it was cool for me because and part of this is a testament to Snell. They have a lot of connectivity in the community, and I was getting out and interacting with a lot of different people. I was getting involved in some board stuff, even when I was in Snell. And, the ownership group at the time wasn't from Arizona. And right when I joined, I think I joined a week after the city of Glendale had canceled the long-term lease.
Oh, wow.
So, the team was essentially a free agent trying to figure out their long-term arena plans. So partly because of my position as general counsel, but also part of, the political, and kind of governmental affairs, stuff that I could bring to the table. I got involved in that immediately. And, I think that was a really cool opportunity for me because, rather than just doing kind of your standard general counsel work, which by the way is a lot for a team, but having this other component of things I was working with, got me more interaction with the league, got more interaction with ownership, and I think through those kind of on ramps to connecting with them, I was able to kind of show my worth and prove myself, and that through some changes and some things with the company and some different owners being bought out, that enabled me to rise through the ranks and become COO, and then did a good job there, and then eventually became CEO.
Wow. And you're I remember you were would have calls with Gary Bettman and stuff, Bettman likes this area, or holy crap, you're early 30s and you're talking to the commissioner of the league about strategic initiatives for a team. That's insane.
Yeah, that's for look, the Coyotes have certainly, I think if you look at the different teams in Arizona, and you say which is the least stable, right?
Yeah,
or
sure.
Which has some of the most challenging situations. I think most people would say the Coyotes. I would say the Coyotes
for sure.
But it's all in how you look at things, right? Because I think if I joined the Suns or the Diamondbacks or the Cardinals as the general counsel, I don't know if I would have been given these same opportunities to shine and interact with the commissioner and all these different things. So for young people out there, it's a good lesson of take challenging situations and use that to your advantage, make them opportunities, because the challenging opportunities are really where you can shine. And
you're built for that opportunity, and that's why you're there.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree with that. I love that.
I like, so there's a good author that wrote The Black Swan, Nicholas Nassim Taleb, and he also wrote a book called Anti-Fragile. And it's this idea, so when something happens, when a negative thing happens, when chaos happens, there's kind of three reactions to that. You could either fold, right? You're fragile.
Yeah.
You break down. You could try to sustain or maintain what you did have, so you're resilient. And the third is this idea, and it's very relevant with COVID, right? But the third is this idea of anti-fragility, where you actually thrive in chaotic situations.
Wow.
Right? You use that
Love
to an advantage. And you think about COVID, for instance, right? Some companies faltered. Some companies had this mentality of let's dig our heels in and let's just be resilient. And then there's some businesses that said, look, this is a terrible thing. Nobody wants this to happen, and it's been horrific for the entire world. But as a business, what do we do with this? How do we not just be resilient, but actually, accelerate some of our technologies, accelerate the things we're doing. But, if you carry that over to, the Coyotes experience, that's the mentality that we tried to take. How do we use this to, give people opportunities to grow and try new things and be different. And I don't think we would have had some of those same opportunities if we were with a more stable organization.
Where do you think the sports business is headed? We've got the sports gambling stuff going crazy now, which we've been really involved in on the front lines. It's just been fascinating. You have the college rule now where, college players, can basically monetize their name and likeness while in school.
Yeah.
I think 13 states are approved that. You've had the last year where sports has had no fans. And certainly ratings are down in the sports world. Where's the business of sports headed, do you think?
Yeah, how much time do we got?
I know, but it's freaking fascinating. And we're a sports society. We're a pop culture sports society. We thrive on this shit.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think things are rapidly changing in a moment's notice. You think back to. There was a day not too long ago, October, where nobody knew what the hell NBA Top Shot was and NFTs. And
I was gonna say NFTs.
A month or two later, then you'd have to be living under a rock to not know what these things are, right? So it's rapidly changing and evolving. I think the Gen Z and millennial consumer are, I think historically, when we were younger coming up, I don't think that there was the same sense of, when we were, 22-year-olds, we were dramatically different from 35-year-olds or 40-year-olds in terms of
That's
how
a great
we
point.
consume sports.
Yeah.
There's a huge divide now, right? And I think one of the biggest things that you're seeing is, the fact that, millennials and Gen Z, they're so, engrossed with all these things coming at them all the time and technology, and they grew up with smartphones and, all these other distractions or ways to connect with people or however you want to spin it. But it's tough to get their attention for anything. So one of the things I think you're seeing in the sports context is there's a tremendous focus on how do we engage with this younger fan segment and how do we create more snackable content for them? Because they're not going to sit there and watch 9 innings of Major League Baseball, right? But we still need to monetize them.
Yeah.
So
like how baseball went to 7 innings, on a few deals. That's a test. The same way cricket.
Exactly.
Cricket used to be like 2 days long. People were like, screw that. Now they have like this sprint cricket deal.
Exactly.
It's going crazy in India right now.
Exactly. It's just finding ways to engage with people, finding ways to keep their attention, finding new ways for people to interact with sports. There's a company, that my guys with Advantage are actually invested with called Green Park Sports, started by Chad Hurley, the YouTube founder. And it's essentially an online platform where fans of one team can compete against fans of another team to demonstrate who's the best fan. And, stuff where, older generations are probably looking at this going, okay, let me watch the game, right?
Yeah.
But, the world's changing rapidly and younger audiences are thinking about sports in a very different way.
I think the digital content scene is fascinating, and how people are monetizing digital content, how people are creating digital content, how the distribution of digital content is happening, the recycle piece of digital content that you see, and sports and traditional media they're so big, they're having a hard time making the shift, whereas like the Barstool Sports of the world like have grown up in internet era, and they're like, it's like part of the fabric of like who they are, so they get it. As we're seeing that shift, and we did a lot of things from Coyotes Social, like early on. I remember the influencer program we did, one of the first in the NHL, and understanding Marissa, who's fantastic over the Coyotes on the social side. I'm just curious to see, like, are they ready to like stay relevant, like the sports teams? Can they compete with the internet, so to speak?
Yeah, they have to constantly evolve. You know? You touch on some of these things, and I think historically sports teams have been slower adopters to technology, and I was
because a lot of these organizations too. Sorry to cut you out. A lot of these organizations too. Like, it's interesting. Like, before I worked with a lot of sports teams, I love sports just like you, and I worked with a lot of teams because I just loved it. ASU for 10 years, worked with the Coyotes. And what I realized is like it's such a small like company, like in a lot of ways. Like it's a kind of mom and pop. Like they're very sophisticated companies, but like not like the big brands I work with. They're at some level like little family franchisees in some ways.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And you do have. We had. A lot of we kind of built out an analytics team to kind of measure this stuff and figure out, okay, what's working, what doesn't, and really A/B testing this stuff.
Yes.
Because it wasn't good enough for me. It wasn't good enough for anybody to sit there and just say, hey, we're gonna throw a billboard up or something like that and just cross our fingers that we're gonna sell some tickets.
Yes.
We wanted to measure this, and then I was proud of the work that we did in terms of launching that influencer campaign, the first in the NHL. We launched, and by the way, you brought up Marissa, one of the biggest superstars in sports in that space. Awesome. She's awesome. She did a great job of spearheading this pilot program with Facebook, which was the first in the NHL when we were there. And they're actually, Marissa's getting an award for that, which is really cool. You have to keep on pushing the envelope and trying some of these new and innovative, strategies to get results. But you're seeing this huge shift in terms of digital and social content. It wasn't that long ago. We had sponsorship people that were, running around doing deals, and they're throwing in, sponsorable assets. They're throwing in social things for free, bonuses. Yeah. And the world shifted so much where a lot of marketers now, that's the most valuable real estate that you have.
100%.
And, it can tell your story in a much more authentic way than I think, just having some sign does.
For sure. Yeah, the business is fascinating, and to see how it evolves, I think will be really interesting to see where sports teams, and talk about them right now. And like take the Phoenix market where they were doing 400 million as, the television group in Phoenix a year.
Yeah.
Whereas today, they're lucky if they do, 275
Yeah.
with political advertising, right?
Yeah.
So the decline of revenue over the last 5 to 10 years is enormous. I think, you're looking at 10 to 15% decline in consumption in 1 year from television. Then you look at the social stats, Facebook and Instagram, doubled in sales, Amazon up 40% in sales. And so this new model, certainly shifting and people capitalizing where others are kind of slow to adopt, and people in between and kind of being in that in-between zone of a legacy brand that is trying to find ways to be more relevant in a new social kind of digital world.
Yeah, you're 100% right. But speaking of the younger people listening, these are, you talk about challenges and opportunities.
Yeah.
I mean, these are things where, historically, coming up the sports landscape, you kind of pay your dues,
Yeah.
you
Go sell tickets.
and then there's so much competition at the lower end for some of these opportunities. And now, in COVID, a lot of these teams have really cut back in terms of entry level
staff
positions,
for sure.
right? So you think about, well, how do I make myself an asset? How do I make people say, hey, I need to hire, the young Scott Harkey. I need to get them on the team. I'm not just doing them a favor by, giving them a job.
Yeah.
They actually bring a lot of value. Well, that's what's so cool, because, if we're sitting here, two guys in their 30s, running businesses, are talking about how do we, reach, the Gen Z and millennial fan. Who knows better how to do that than a Gen Z or millennial,
I agree with
right?
that.
And a lot of this world is changing so rapidly that, some CMO that, has been there for 30 years doesn't necessarily know that much more than, somebody that spends a lot of time in their 20s studying this and learning this and jumping on the trends.
Correct.
It drove me, not drove me nuts. I thought it was really cool. But, I used to go to these when I was at Snell and I was trying to get into, these sports teams. They had these sports lawyers conferences every year. And, you're going to these and a lot of these general counsel positions is people that were at very good firms and went to the right schools and had the right pedigree in the background and had been practicing for a long time, and then they get the Yankees general counsel job, right? And, they started inviting, this is probably back in like 2014 or so, they started inviting the esports, people to the conference. And you look back and there's these massive brands that are scaling like crazy that are worth, hundreds of millions of dollars. And, the general counsels are not these, 45-year-old, gray-haired guys, they're kids. They're 27-year-olds that said, hey, look, I saw the trend where this was going, and I started reading up on this and wrote some law review articles on it, and then I got hired, and then here I am. And so it's fun, right? Because if you actually see an opportunity and you jump into it and say, I'm going to be an expert in this field, you'll be surprised at how many great, opportunities are going to come your way.
They're so smart. People saw that with the marijuana business. People saw that with esports. I mean, my friend, I'm going to have on this podcast, David Shin's a partner at FaZe Clan. I mean, they're worth like $400 million. This gaming team.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating to me at the growth of which things are happening. Really hyper growth, especially anything digital currency kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's really, my son is, he watches a kid on YouTube play Minecraft. I'm like, this is insane, dude. This is way different than I remember. I mean, he likes football too, but I think that's a great point is I think any time in my career, I think some of the biggest compliments that I've heard from people is like, hey, Scott, I think you understand where the puck's going, like a Wayne Gretzky approach, how, looking at market trends. And I think when you are the demographic, when you are engaged in digital content, you have been on a 21st century digital boy since you've been, 2 years old coming up, where's the model going and how can you provide expertise and value in that area?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
That's cool. Well, dude, I love having you on. We could talk forever on this kind of stuff. But
I love it, brother. This is awesome. No, it was a good time.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us. If you like this content, if you know someone that's trying to get in the sports business, if you know someone that, wants to be an executive or a lawyer, like I think Ahron's advice and perspective is fascinating. So share this, send this to them. Our mission here at Playing with Fire is to help people at any level in their career find those insights that's not like educationally driven, but like real life stuff that you can learn from. So thanks for people like Ahron taking their time to join us and give us some of those. Appreciate it, brother.
Of course.
You just experienced the Big Reset, Marketing and Business Edition. New episodes of our highly engaging series drop every Wednesday, while past sit-downs are available to stream or download in our archive. For more, follow your host at Scott Harkey on Instagram. And for more on OH, check out ohpartners.com.